Welcome to Wellness Radio with Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher as your host. Her show discusses topics of health, wellness, and spirituality, and is about discovering your place in this great universe, from your cells to the cosmos. Along with her guest, in casual conversation, she strives to ask the difficult questions that may be holding you back from a vibrant life, and shares new ideas that may inspire you to make a change in your life that you only can see in your dreams. And now, here is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Radio. This is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher, and it's a pleasure to have you with us here this evening. Tonight, we are going to have first of our most fabulous summer reads. We're going to go on an adventure into the mind, into our darkest secrets, perhaps to another country, maybe into our psyche, perhaps maybe where we will dress up, become someone else, do something else with our life, or go on an adventure beyond our wildest dreams. It is really exciting when we can just sit back and read a book, a novel, and say, wow, just take me on an adventure. I need to escape my life today. I want to feel something different. I want to feel adventure, maybe something that I've never done before. Or perhaps you say, oh, I thought of that before. Let's go and see where this character will take me. Perhaps it will be just what I've been thinking about, dreaming about, perhaps what I would love to do. My guest today is Maria Denison. Her book series is called The Reflex. And there are many books, of which I have 1 and 2 today, and she has several that are in the pot, so to speak. So today we'll be talking about Part 1 and Part 2, The Reflex. Maria, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Dr. Jeanette. It's truly an honor, and I appreciate that you have me on.
I'm so glad to have you on to talk about this summer read. You know, I always have 2 or 3 novels a summer, and we say these are really great, and it's great that you already have 2 books, so to speak, out in print. But what's great about it, too, is that it's something that takes you on a journey outside of the normal, oh, this is kind of like, you know those old stories, the summer reads, they were romances, and you come away longing for something you're missing. Your story takes you on a mystery adventure, which really kind of livens us up, don't you think?
I was hoping to do that, yes. I wanted it to not follow the standard romance trope. I needed it to be more than that. I needed there to be some reality to it that was identifiable, as well as some fantasy to it that was attracting.
Yeah, what I really loved about the book was you started out in the beginning and you think life is normal. First chapters or so. Life is normal. This is what it's all about. A husband, a wife, and 2 kids, right?
Correct.
You know, I think what's really great about that is when you start things out as normal, you say, where are you going to take me to? And all of a sudden, things start to unravel, so to speak. Kind of like we took the top off the box of secrets. Do you think that perhaps everybody lives with secrets about their adventures, their past lives, or even their past this lifetime?
I think so. I think we are multifaceted diamonds, and we show parts of ourselves in different situations. We have the work self. This is how we present ourselves when we're at the office or in the field or whatever it is that we do for a living. And then we have the family self. This is the part my family sees. If I'm the healer of the family,
right.
If I'm the peacekeeper of the family, that's what they see. And then there's the part that you show your children. There's the mom part of you, the part of you that needs to be nurturing and there for them and validating their feelings. And so all of those parts are us. We're just showing them at different times. In this book, we have a situation where the protagonist, Kara, she sort of clouded a third of her diamond. She's clouded it. The other sides that she shows are genuine. There's no ingenuine thing about her except that she's clouded those sides. And the book really starts to take shape when we take the cloud away from those facets of her life and those secrets and omissions, and that part of her becomes aware. Everyone becomes aware of it. And it does really unravel. I mean, it unravels her life. The building blocks for her family are starting to pull apart, and it's going to change the direction of her life. And do I think everyone has a little bit of this? Yes, I do.
You know what I really think what's really great about it, too, was that it really showed both sides. It's almost as if you walk in a door and you're this person, and you walk out the door and you're another. You think about that also in professions. If you're in healthcare and you're a doctor, you go to work, this is your job, and you're pretty much 100% in that dimension of time. You go home, you take off the clothes, you're in another dimension of time. And I think that's so vitally important, because sometimes people will say, oh, but, kind of washes over into each. Really everybody wants to know who we really are. And in essence, I don't think everybody knows everything about everyone. In other words, there's always some part of you that's been kept to the side, specifically for that reason, because it's more about owning up to that side. In other words, when you go to be a doctor, you don't want to hear about all of your things going on at home. When you're a lawyer, you don't bring, in court, you don't sit there and talk about what kind of food you're going to cook for your kids, When you turn around and you're a policeman, you're not, taking down and sitting down and signing and doing your kids' homework. We don't have that crossover because we really want to be 100% in each bank of the jobs in which we are doing. I think that in the year 2023, there's lately been some crossover people have started to do.
Definitely.
But I think that in the past it's always been that way, is that this is my job, this is my profession, this is my home life, this is, very separate silos of living, don't you think?
I do, and I don't necessarily think it's the wrong way or the unhealthy way to do it. I mean, should you leave work at work? Yes, I think you should. Do your children need to hear about your work? Does your husband need to hear about your work? I mean, sure, if you need a helping hand or somebody to help you vent. But otherwise, is it really unhealthy to compartmentalize those different aspects of your life? I mean, I think personally it's healthy. I mean, leave it where it needs to be and be in the moment when you are with your children or when you are with your husband or when you are with your family. Again, use those different sides of you. They all make up who you are, but you don't have to cross them. And I do think with, the healthcare and what we've been through, there was so much crossover that it did cause a lot of stress. And I think it caused a lot of anxiety for people because those crossovers were happening, that overlapping was happening. But I, personally have led my life with, it's fine. Be this person, be this person. And I'm good with that. I don't think that you have to share. Just because I might be the peacekeeper in my family doesn't mean I need to be the peacekeeper at work. You play the role that you feel comfortable in that situation.
Well, now we're not going to give away the story, so I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. And in the end of part one, beginning of part two, it does take a significant twist about two of the characters. We're not going to name them because we don't want to change it. But, on the same note, I can distinctly remember that when I was working, in open heart surgery, and I would come home, my kids were 4 kids under the age of 10. I'd sit down at dinner and talk to them about open heart surgery. This is what we did. This is how it went, and they're going, oh my gosh, my mother would be sitting there, this is gross, stop talking about it. But the kids would be so enthralled in it. And, now I have physicians as children. So I think sometimes we say there are times when maybe our family members do have that crossover because maybe it'd be time for them to take on the staff after we are ready to teach them, share with them, guide them, and then turn things over to them, perhaps?
Perhaps, yes. Yes. I think it's a delicate, as parents, it's a delicate, thing that you do. You don't want to push. You want them to be them. You want them to be able to explore what they find fascinating. So you want to share what you do, but you at the same time want to cultivate any interests they have, any passions they have. Your children became physicians. My husband and I have a chemical engineer. That was her passion, and that's what and we let her, she joined science at Olympiad in high school, and we just went with that. It's like you could tell she had a passion, and so I think you need to be supportive, whichever direction you go to. At least that's my parenting style, is be supportive and just give them, help them with whatever direction they want. If they don't have one, help them find one. But in the case of the book, yes, there is sort of, I call it paranormal. Some people prefer to refer to it as a, preternatural aspect of the end of the book. But there is a paranormal element to the book. I like to think of it as an evolution of sorts. I'm a full believer in collective consciousness. I believe that we are all connected. Somehow, this is the way we've been built. That my emotions can affect you, your emotions, your negative energy can affect me, and that we are connected. I think people feel that. I know that I am very intuitive, so I can sense as soon as somebody walks into the room that they're bringing in negative energy. Or I can sense that they're bringing in a very, very positive energy. It's something I've always felt my whole life, and I just can sense it. And so I wanted to write a book that included my beliefs. And the book is about, in the end, it's about truth. My belief in truth is that truth is a very individual thing. There is no such thing as the truth. There is, for me, your truth, my truth. And those are the things that you hold dear. And they should never be taken away. Because my truth, is not the same as somebody else's truth. But it's still my truth. And truths change. As we grow older, as we experience things, our own truths change. The things that we thought were rock solid may not be rock solid later. And that's the great thing about life, is that it's always ever changing. So this book sort of displays that as an underlining theme, that you need to roll with the punches. You definitely need to move forward. When you the old saying, when a door closes, a window opens. It's a simplistic saying. I always say when a door closes, okay, stop, have a pity party, take an antidepressant, do whatever you need to do, but then you need to rally and you need to find that window. And if that window doesn't open, you need to get a crowbar, you need to pry it open. If that doesn't work, just smash it open and get out. But you need to make things work. We need to own our lives and move forward and make the changes necessary and rally. Those are my truths. And I sort of put that into this book, that underlining theme.
I think, Maria, a short synopsis of the book series from the beginning. The character at a very young age just had part of her life that she kept in a little box on the shelf and then went on about and created another life. And then about 20 years later, the two lives started to open up at the same time and become on a collision course, where the people she knew, the people she thought, people who were around her and supporting her were part of her life that she thought was private, have now become, oh, you mean you were part of my life before that? Or perhaps you are now something else other than who I thought you were. And it really begins a crash course on who are you? What are you all about? Where did you come from? And how are we so intertwined that now we might be in danger? We might be on opposite sides. We might be trying to figure out things in this world, and our job, J-O-B, might be more powerful than ever. And really, what are we going to do now? I think that's a pretty succinct kind of synopsis, don't you think?
It's very succinct. Some people have called it the anti-fairy tale in referring to the book, where it sort of starts in this fairy tale life. It may be normal, it might be identifiable, but it's definitely fairy tale. And then slowly I break apart that fairy tale and I bring in, what I like to call reality, of course, in a fictional sense, in an embellished, fun way. It represents life where, reality sets in and life gets in the way. In this case, former life gets in the way. And it does start to jeopardize the character's family, her friends, and it puts them on a dangerous path, a path that they need to navigate emotionally, physically, mentally. And those building blocks, like I said, have been, that were her life, have been pulled out from under her. It really was more of a house of cards and not reality. And now she's got to build a new reality. And I think, putting yourself into denial, I think it's easy to do that. It's easy to create a life where a part of you is in denial.
What I really loved about the book was that you did not know what was coming next, truly, because, each chapter you go, okay, I got that. And I can honestly say I found myself reading sometimes a chapter twice because I feel like I missed something. Your clues are very enmeshed in the words, and it might be just one or two words, or it might be a sentence. It's not like the entire chapter is, quote, the clue, and it unfolds. I mean, there's like little tiny clues, but if you miss that word, you best go back and read the chapter again, because you might miss something, don't you think?
Yes. I leave clues and carrots through the whole book. I mean, I when I first wrote the book, I sent it out to some focus group readers, and, they said, at the end, I didn't even know that was coming. I didn't see that coming. And I'm like, but I left clues. Didn't you see the clues? So I think it depends on what kind of a reader you are. I put a lot of effort into this book in the sense that I wanted it to be a little bit different. I really wanted the right turns and left turns. I wanted them to be a bit unpredictable, not completely out of nowhere, but a bit unpredictable. The series will still continue that way. Just when you think as the reader that you have it figured out, I'll turn it up on its head again. Because that's, again, to me, it was sort of an analogy about life. Just when we think we have it figured out, something happens. And you know what? You have to react. You have to move with it. You have to change with it. You need to move on. And I love, I put a lot of effort into the protagonist in this, and we can talk about that a little bit if it's okay with you. The protagonist is not a young woman. I mean, it was important for me to bring into fiction a protagonist that was a middle-aged woman, somebody who has lived life, has created life, has experienced life, and has the wisdom that goes with that. That was important for me. I didn't, want to read another book about a 24-year-old girl who's just starting off her life. I wanted somebody who knew what to expect from life and still make mistakes, but yet have the experience of living a life. So it was just something that was important to me, that she were identifiable to those of us who really are mostly the people who read, are, 40 to 65 is the major market of people who read, because we now have the time to read versus when we were younger. So the protagonist, I wanted her to be identifiable, but I also didn't find the need to make her likable. I didn't need her to be perfect. I needed her to be flawed. Again, life and art imitating each other. We're all somewhat flawed, and I think that's okay. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to put that kind of pressure on ourselves. We just need to adapt.
Yeah. Do you think that, Maria, in your book, your characters were so good at covering up and creating a different persona that once it starts to unravel, it's like you really have to go back decades in their life to be able to pick up the strings to say, how did I miss that? Even your characters miss the clues. Do you know what I mean? Versus just
Correct.
even myself saying that I had to go back and read the chapter twice. Your characters themselves miss the clues in several decades of their life. So when they start to unravel that, it's sort of a lot of emotions come out. There's anger, there's frustration, there's, I'm going to, what am I going to do now? There's needing protection. There's, what are we all going to do now? Or, am I going to be taken out by this position or this little silo that they have kept themselves in of secrets? So don't you think, perhaps, that many times we see this in our own lifetime, a lot of things start to unravel and we need to go back and rewind?
Yes. I mean, how many times does that happen, especially, as we get older, where we've realized something may have occurred to us when we were younger and we've disassociated. We've
Right.
disassociated that and we've gone on with our life. But there always is a point in your life where you have to come back and deal with that. I mean, maybe you're successful and you don't, but it happens. Just on a little side note, I have an 87-year-old mom who now lives with me, and I have disassociated my entire childhood. That now those walls are crumbling. That I, have her living with me again, and I'm dealing with all of these emotions that I put away. That I was in the land of denial, to use a term from the book. I was in the land of denial. The clues were there that I, disassociated those emotions, and they're there, but it's so easy for us as humans to say, to move on, I have to put this away. And sometimes it stays successfully put away. In the case of the book, it doesn't. And then they now all have to deal with that. So, again, art imitating life, and in a more embellished way. I think it's relatable in the sense that, it might be unbelievable that you can hide a secret for 17 years, but don't we all? Don't we all hide emotions
Right.
and things that have happened to us? We do. And then sometimes it comes out.
It's so interesting, Maria, because your book, it kind of steps right up there with a lot of shows that are on TV, about how people have changed their names, how people are someone else they used to be, that you would have never thought they would be. There's a lot of international intrigue in it. There's a lot of really stepping up and it's just, I can't even put it into words. It's just, there's a little bit of fashion there, when she gets that coat in her boots, you know what I mean? And you go, where is this thing going? You know what I mean? It kind of threw you off a little bit, and then it brought you right back to something different about that character. So I think the idea is that who we really think or know people are, we have no clue. But also, too, they take us on their own journey. In other words, the book is not just about one character. It's about a web of characters and where they each individually go, how they all fit together, but yet how they also have their own...
cast, yeah.
Right, how they also have their own diverse little pots.
Correct. This is definitely... I call it my big chill. I'm dating myself. I'm calling it my big chill book because it's a cast of characters, We do have one protagonist, per se, if we have to pick a protagonist, but really this is a cast of characters. And as the series goes on, the cast gets bigger. And each character has their own, development and changes and growth. But yes, everybody plays a very important role in this book. There are no supporting roles. Everyone is a main character, really. And I hope well developed. I really did think through, and when I created these characters, like they really needed to mean something to me. And even though it was, we can say it's sort of a spy thriller, but it's also a romance, and it's a mystery. It's a mystery.
Yes. Absolutely. But you know what I think too, Maria, is that there's no wasted space. And there's not, you know how sometimes a writer will set up, a scene and it will take them 2 or 3 pages to set it up, and it's sort of like, oh, good gracious, get to the point, And that kind of book, I can skim through a 500-page book in an hour like that, But yours pretty much, like I said, you have to read every little bit, but each story has it has depth and it has wealth of information, and it all sets up the pieces of the puzzle. Sort of like if you looked at your book as a series, it would probably be a 10,000-piece puzzle. You know what I mean? It's not one of these, let's do on a weekend. This is something, definitely reading your book of your series would take you a little bit of time, but you would also enjoy the adventure.
And that's what I was going for. As a reader, I am a voracious reader, but as a reader, I personally do not like imagery. I don't require it when I read, and I find it annoying when I read. I don't need you to explain to me what a waterfall looks like or how your grief feels for 4 pages. I don't need that. I get it. I understand grief. I've seen a waterfall. I don't need you to explain it. That's what you said. I skimmed through those parts. So when I wrote this, I wanted to write it in the style that I like to read, a style which is get to the point. Have you made your point? Am I clear? Let's move on. It was really supposed to be like an action-packed kind of one thing after another without wasting space type of book. So I'm thrilled that you noticed that. And I'm thrilled that you enjoyed that. I do know, a lot of people like I call it pretty prose. I'm not a pretty prose writer. I do think I write well, but I don't wax poetic. It's not something I enjoy to read. I don't enjoy reading that. So I don't write that way. But yeah, I do like to get to the point. But again, I've left you clues. I do leave you clues.
But I also think, too, that's how your main character actually lives her life. She was, hey, you have a job for me to do. Okay, I have 2 days. I'm going to go to this country. I'm going to do the job, and I'll be back. In other words, over, through, get done, move on. And it's sort of like very quick, very concise. She knows who she is. When she's in that other character, she knows what she's all about and what she can accomplish. And the main characters know they are the best at their jobs. So it's not like, oh, you need to tell me how to do it and guide me, blah, 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 all that stuff. It's sort of, got it. What's the job? Where's the mission? See ya, and they're on to do the job. I think that's what really makes an action-packed mystery so a page turner. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, where did you go next? In 2 pages, you could have done 3 things, right?
See, that's exactly how I feel. It's like, let's not waste time on the details. The devil is in the details. We don't need to waste that time. I really needed it to just be a page turner. I wanted people to get into it, to enjoy the characters, to have a favorite character. I do book clubs where I say, okay, who's your favorite character? And everybody's got a different favorite, and I love that. Because for me as an author, it's very affirming to think that, like, okay, this person really bonded with this character, this person really bonded with that character. It gives me the feeling that I really developed them well. Where you can really have a favorite like that. Like, I love that.
It's kind of cool because you can ride along on the shirt tails of that character. It's sort of like, if there's a story playing out in a chapter and you're like, well, where's the other character? They need to come in and fix it. And you turn the page and, oh, there they are, or, oh, they're not part of this. They didn't know about it. And then the next chapter you'll find out, why didn't they know about it? What happened? And then the next chapter it's like, oh, well, darn it, now they're going to find out about it. So it's how the secrets are presented, how they show up, and how they take responsibility for sharing those secrets with other people in their life. Because, sometimes when we unearth some secrets, we just say, oh, but it's mine, you don't need to worry about it. But it truly affects those around you, people in your tribe, people in your profession, whoever's around you. It does affect them. And it's to be responsible for watching how it plays out in their lives and, take control over how things will be going forward. Don't you think?
Absolutely. I call it owning it. I always say, even as a parent, I've done it. I've done it as a daughter now, where I say you need to own that. It was a mistake, or it was something you didn't disclose, or it was. Now let's own that and let's heal from that. But own it first. Professionally, I call it the blame game. Where something goes wrong and immediately the fingers start pointing, and I always say to them, what does it matter right now? Who we're blaming. There's a problem, let's fix it. So let's stop playing the blame game and let's talk about solutions right now. It's happened, own it, let's move on. And so I gave a lot of these characters, a little bit of my personality in there where, just own it, fix it, let's go. Let's not waste time. I think a lot of people spend a lot of unnecessary time in their lives pushing blame and pushing issues off on other people in their lives instead of owning it, taking responsibility and saying, this is my life. I'm the one who has to make the changes. I'm the one that has to move forward, and I need to do it my way, and I'm going to do it and take responsibility for how it's affected the people around me. I do think these characters rise to the occasion and take the responsibility where it's needed. As things unfold, I do think they take the responsibility and they own it and they move forward. And again, I think it's another life and art thing. It's me trying to say, hey, everyone out there, do it. Own it. That's what life's about. It's about learning, owning it, and moving forward. My analogy with the door. Have the pity party when the door shuts in your face, but at some point, snap out of it, and let's find that window, and let's open it. Even if you have to crack it open, let's do it. That's how things get done.
Yeah. Maria, I think in closing, let's also share about the series that it's not a doom and gloom. It is not, oh, woe is me. You're not going to come away with a sense of a down kind of energy or a sense of, oh, I wish that was me kind of idea. You're going to definitely come away with the series when you start reading the books is, whoa, that was exciting. That was awesome. That was an uplifting moment. That was an adventure. In other words, you really keep the book at a high level of energy. Don't you think that's the purpose of the series?
Absolutely. And I think one of the other purposes is I think all of the characters know how to bring humor into the situation. Yeah. I think there are parts of the book that I read that I still laugh at. And I wrote it and I laugh and I'm like, oh my God, that's so funny. I'm so funny. But I wanted to bring humor because to me, humor is the cure-all to everything. If you can't laugh at yourself and have people laugh with you, if you can't be self-deprecating, it's just so important to be able to say, you know what, take that moment under pressure and then come out of it with grace by making a joke. And so, yes, I think nobody's going to see this as a doom and gloom at all. I do try to keep the action going. I do try to keep it uplifting, and I try to keep it somewhat funny. I do find it a humorous book, and as the books proceed, they're still the same way. They go on, and they're written in the same way, where we discover a problem and then we solve it the next chapter, and I keep the character growth growing. I think we begin to see more and more of each of the characters and dealing with them, and dealing with any issues and bringing those out and having them be addressed. But again, I try to do it with humor, where, it's fun. It's a fun read. I wanted it to be an exciting read, but I wanted it to be a fun read at the same time, something that would make you smile.
Maria, how many books will be in the series? I have 2. Are there any others published?
None are published as of yet. 3 is in editing, and there will be a total of 6. The books, this originally was 1 book, part 1 and 2, but because I was a new author, it was recommended that I couldn't write more than 100,000 words in a first book, so I split it. I sort of regret doing that now, but so originally it was 5 books, it became 6 books, but all of the books are written. The story is done. It's just a matter of getting each book edited out. So 3 is in editing, and then once that, hopefully in the next few months, that'll go to publishing, and then 4 will start editing, but we make changes along the way. These books were written over the course of about 4 years. And then I didn't do anything with them. And then I decided I'm going to do something with these. And so last spring, I started the process to get these published. And I mean, they're like my creative baby. I mean, it's funny. I never thought that you get so attached to your work, but you really, really do. And those characters do really live alive in your head. You start to picture what they look like. You see them doing things. It's amazing. It's fun. Right. I enjoy it. I mean, I'm trying to manifest being a successful author so that I can do this for the rest of my life. But I am trying to manifest that out there into the universe with some success with these books. I will write other things that are not in this series, but this series I have all planned out. I mean, after the 6th, there'll be another 3 books in the series, but I will be writing some other things on the side going forward that are unrelated to the series. But like I said, it's something I've learned to love. It's, I guess it always was a passion for me that I never got to explore, and once I started it, I just went with it. And I'd like to think it's a little different of a writing style. It's not your normal, book that has a formula to it. It's a little different. But I really want people to enjoy it. I've enjoyed writing it, and I want readers to enjoy reading it. I do get mostly positive feedback. I get a lot of questions at the end of this book. But I always say the questions will be answered. Read the next book. Yeah. They'll get answered.
I think it's really good when, a series ends with, you're just like hanging on the end and you're going, but that sentence didn't finish, So it's kind of good that you did split up 1 and 2, because you're going like, wait a second, you were just in the middle of something and you stopped. And that's a really good way for a series to go to the next book. So really, Maria, do you think you could share with the listeners how to find out more information about your work?
You can go to my website, mariadenison.com, and I do keep a blog. You can sign up for newsletters. I will be releasing bonus scenes, things that we've, clipped out of the book, that are still great scenes for people to read once you sign up for the newsletter. There is a Shop Now button that will connect you to most of the platforms, the common platforms to buy books. It does come in ebook, softcover, and hardcover. But the website, has a lot of interesting information. I do, like I said, blog on there, so, people can get to know me personally better. and see some of what goes on in my life. And I'm also on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. Awesome. And again, all those connects are on the website. So, I mean, you can connect to those. And I, a little side note, when I wrote the book, one of the things that I wanted to do was make everything accurate. I wanted to make any references, it's a fantasy, but it's not. Every reference in there historically is true. Anything we talk about is true. Everything is accurate. They do go to a different country at one point. I spent 2 weeks in that country researching every little thing I was going to write about it. I wanted things to be accurate. It's another little pet peeve of mine when I read books and I catch things that are mistakes, where somebody writes about New York and they say something that you're like, yeah, no, that's not New York. Or it doesn't take that long to walk from there to there.
Right.
So those things were very important to me. So, everything is true, which is why it's funny to call it a paranormal book when all of the facts are real.
Right.
Even as we go on and we talk a little bit of science, the science is real. So that was one thing that was important to me, and it was. So there was a lot of research that went into this book, and I think that's why it became a passion for me personally. But again, website, and it's on Amazon, Apple, Barnes & Noble. I do have a book signing coming up, but that is going to be in Las Vegas on June 10th. If anybody happens to be in Vegas at Barnes & Noble, and you'll find information on that on my website. And again, Dr. Jeanette, I can't thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and like I said, an honor to talk to you.
I'm so glad to have you on. And to the listeners, let's try these out, these series. I think they're really wonderful. Like I said, what I really loved about it was that I had to keep going back because I missed clues. And everyone knows, for over a decade now, I'm pretty much can read through something and pretty much see where it's going to go. Well, yes. Also, too, my own clues are, as soon as I put my hand on the first book, I kind of had an inkling where we were going, and isn't that wonderful to see it play out? So I really think these are great series to be able to say, let's go along the journey and see how she weaves the story, opens up a box of secrets, and really just delights us. I mean, it's just something you read in the summertime, on the beach. You could read a few chapters and you say, wow, can't wait to get home and read the rest. Or you could read the entire book in one day. Or perhaps you just say, you know what, I'm just going to take my time and maybe read a few lines, a few chapters, and I'm going to delve myself into the character. That's truly what we want to be able to do with a summer read, is step into the moment in time and dream, and this is a great series to start with. So thank you, Maria, so much for joining us today. We had a wonderful time talking with you, as we say, dancing in the ethers, and these books are absolutely wonderful, so we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
If you'd like to find out more information about Maria Denison, again, the series are The Reflex. Please do click on the link on the bottom of today's show page to go directly to her website for more information. And definitely, if you're in Vegas in June, check out her book signing. And I'm sure she'll have other events on her website. Just keep an eye out. Also follow her on TikTok and other social media venues. And it is about being able to say, I just need to delight. I need to step out of my mundane. I need to step out of my stressful life. I want to read something different. These series are totally different than your life. You're not stepping into someone else's life that is similar to yours or that might be a problem that you might be having. It is different. So I promise when you read it, you will be elevated, you will be excited, and you will be joyful about reading each one of the pages, and that's exactly what we want. So thank you so much for joining us today. Happy reading of the summer 2023. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher, and until tomorrow, have a great day.
Today we discussed many life-changing concepts. Who do you turn to, and how do you know what is best when faced with a health crisis? Dr. Jeanette is a patient advocate. She listens to the patient, the doctors, and the family, clarifies the health issues and concerns, then helps the patient make the best choices going forward. If you would like help implementing change into your life and health, we can talk and see where you are stuck and how to improve the quality of your life. Check the link on the bottom of today's show page or visit dr.jeanette-gallagher.com to schedule a phone appointment today.